Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. I might rename this to radio broadcast or something, given that it's a voice only and no imagery. In this essay, I'd like to talk about private property in the Western world. Now, we've seen sort of private property, or the meaning of it, changing quite considerably over the last 50 years. Effectively, for example, property within a marriage, regardless of the nature of contribution, it was deemed, in case of like divorce, that sort of thing, was deemed to be the property, deemed to be common property owned by all members of the family. Husband, wife, 3 kids, well, effectively is being split 5 ways, which you often saw that the mother will be given 80% of all the value of everything, allegedly holding 30% or so of that in trust for the children. So it changed the meaning of what was private property, and when is private property or communal property? So if you save the money and work hard and you buy property, is it yours or is it communal? Or is it communal whenever the government says it's communal? And this is, I guess, is going to be the big issue, or one of the big issues of the future. Now, we all know Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, the face of globalism, saying you'll own nothing and be happy. Maybe everyone's going to have their house taken and a frontal lobotomy to sort of go with it, as freebie thrown in, of course. But what does that mean exactly? Does it mean the government will own all the housing and thus it will allocate housing? Or do you somewhat own the house you have? So something that's going on in Ireland, and Dave Cullen covered this. I think I saw it on the BitChute. It's quite a good vid. You should go over there and have a look. He had to talk about what's happening in Ireland, where the government there is bringing in, or threatening to bring in, a whole bunch of Ukrainians, and they have to be housed somewhere. So they were saying that somewhere in the region of 50 or 60,000 houses are holiday homes, or like weekend homes, that sort of thing, out in the country and whatnot. So should those homes be effectively seized by the government and used to house all these people they're bringing in? Now, the way the sequence of logic works is we're going to bring in a lot of people. This then creates an emergency. We therefore can invoke emergency powers. These emergency powers transcend the rule of law and due legal process and the Constitution and all this sort of thing, private property rights. It transcends all of that because we say it's an emergency, and therefore we can just take your house. Now, maybe not taken indefinitely, maybe it'll be taken for a few years. Maybe they'll give you some sort of basic compensation for it, which will be a lot less, one suspects, than it's worth. But this idea that we can say we can create the emergency, artificially create an emergency that didn't exist in the first place. So there's nothing organic about the emergencies. They create them, they invent them, and then say that gives us the right to invoke emergency powers, which then gives us the right to bypass the law, due legal process, Constitution. So we can do anything we want. There's not a damn fucking thing you can do about it. And you've got a problem with Ukrainians coming in, you damn fascist Nazi Hitler. So given the globalists control all the governments, all the public services, they control a lot of the courts now. They certainly control the media top to bottom. So they can do this without any criticism, and the media will run cover for them and just accuse anyone that disagrees with it of being a Nazi or Hitler or something like that. And I think this is the way it's going to go. And I think it's going to go a number of ways, and again suggested by some of the information Dave Cullen provided in his video. But I'm starting to see it all around the place that why are you, if you're an elderly couple and your kids are left home, why are you living in that 4 or 5 bedroom house? Someone else can make better use of that. Abdul
Abdul with his 3 wives and his 50 inbred children, he can come into this house and make better use of it than you can. So if you don't sell this house and take a smaller one, we're going to you're going to have to pay extra for tax, or you're going to have to suffer some other penalty, or we're going to force you to take tenants in your spare bedrooms, which will turn your kitchen and your bathrooms into communal property used by all. And they're going to all be peasants from Central Africa who've never seen a flushing toilet before in their lives. So we're going to do that unless you sell. So there'll be all sorts of coercive methods used to force white people to sell their property. Now, I doubt the wealthy will be affected by this. I think there'll be cozy deals where they'll classify wealthy people's property differently, and they'll either be compensated massively for the inconvenience of losing their country property, but I don't think it'll be that, or there'll be some special dispensation that's given only to wealthy people, so they don't have to have third world peasants running around their houses. Whereas they say they love it, reality is they don't, and they wouldn't. They only love third world peasants when they're a long way away from where they are. So I think it's going to be. I think white people are going to be forced to put up other. These incoming migrants. So the migrants will be forced on as A, and then B, forced on individual people in individual property ownership. They'll either be forced to sell the house or to take tenants in the bedroom. Now, if you scale down to like a 1 or modest 2-bedroom house in terms of square footage and all that sort of thing, then they maybe leave you alone. But if there's only a couple, you're just a husband and wife or a couple, then they won't let you have anything bigger than a two-bedroom place, and then as I say, use the property that. And I would think it'll go something like the big banks will be required to pay you a set rate for the property, which they will then own. The Black Rocks, that sort of thing, they will then own, and they will then rent it out to third world peasants, and the government will then pay BlackRock for use of that house as a rental, and that'll be a generous amount higher than you could get if you wanted to rent it out. And then that'll be around Robin. BlackRock will then give cozy jobs to government figures and so on. So I think it'll go something like that. But I see private property as almost being non-existent. It's really the bedrock of a capitalist system, but they're getting rid of the capitalism, certainly for anyone other than the elites. They'll own private property or have lifetime ownership, I guess, if not outright ownership. But the idea of private property is, as we understand it and have understood it, I don't think that's going to exist. I don't think it's many years away. I think it'll happen. Definitely, well, in my view, at least within the next 25 years. And already, governments are busy around the world rewriting laws and elements of the Constitution and a Bill of Rights and these sorts of things, so they can redefine crisis and emergency and so on. And they, as I said earlier, they can create, artificially create. It's not even organic, for goodness sakes. Artificially create the emergency, and then activate these artificial emergency powers, just so they don't have to, respect the law or respect the Constitution. And if you dispute it, they'll drag you in front of some activist judge who'll decide in favour of the state. So that, and again, the media will run cover accusing you of being Hitler if you don't like it. So I think they're locking it up tight. Now, the game's not completely over yet. People are waking up to it, and not many people want it. You look at the people that are pushing this in, say, Australia, it's only a few thousand. Most of them are just 2-bit flunkies that the globalists have installed to do globalist bidding. So there's not many people that really believe what they're doing is a good thing and want to do it. There's many more of us than them, and many of us who don't agree. We've got to make the ballot box count, and we've got to make our politicians accountable and say, we don't want this. Now, if you think it's going to create a better world for everybody, and again, they're redefining the common good to be whatever they say it is, then let's have that conversation. Otherwise, back the fuck off, buddy, and do what you're elected to do, which is represent us, the people in this country. And that's I'd like to see your comments below But if these people get their way, and currently they are, I don't think private property as we know it is going to exist, and it's going to happen fairly soon. You've been Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.